Okay, we're good. Welcome to our Thursday night New York Giants Preservation Society meeting. Hope everybody is well. Just some other things we're going to be discussing before we turn it over to Jeff Stewart. Next week we have Dave Krell. He's going to be talking about the 1962 baseball season, San Francisco Giants, New York Yankees, World Series, John Kennedy. Should be a very, very interesting time. The following week, we're working on getting Mr. Pavlovich to speak about the Giants, how they're doing now. I'm waiting his call. Then we got Dan Levitt after that, and we will continue going on from there. If you want to hang around after the meeting, Steve's going to talk about possibly making a phone call next week to Willie Mays on May 4th. His birthday is May 6th. So we can talk about that. What else could I tell you? Tonight we have Jeff Stewart. I've spoken to Jeff on many occasions throughout the years, and his book, it's a fascinating book called TWILIGHT Teams. It is not a new book, but despite that, it's still so relevant to the people in here. The book talks about 6 teams last season in their home before they left town. The 52 Boston Braves, the 53 St. Louis Browns, the 54 Philadelphia Athletics, of course, the 57 Giants and Dodgers, and the 1971 Washington Senators. Jeff is going to be speaking mostly about the Giants, but you know, if you have any questions about those other teams, feel free. Jeff wrote this whole book, and it's really it's an excellent book. It's still very much available, and hopefully after you listen to his talk tonight, you might consider purchasing it. So the Preservation Society is proud to welcome Jeff Stewart. Jeff, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Behind me here, I have hats of all of the teams: the Braves, the Browns, the A's. The A's had the only year they had a red trim around the A. It's not the hat the 52 Braves wore. It is a Braves hat, but they had a red letter B, a white letter B on a blue hat with red trim, and so they're all of them here. And I in Brooklyn, and I'm wearing the Giants cap. So I've got a few things to show you. First, I'm a big Mays fan. This is an autographed picture that my brother picked up for me of Willie. And I have another one. I got a Mays.
Show my pictures.
And then here is another autographed picture I have of Willie. So I'm sort of, and then I'm wearing a Bobby Shantz Philadelphia A's jersey. So what I'm going to, before we get started, I want to show you something first. In 2007, my niece called me up and she said, she lives in Savannah, and she said, I have to introduce this baseball guy, Uncle Jeff, and I have no idea who he is. Well, I'm going to show you who he is if I can screen share and do it successfully. Okay.
Let me see if I can give you that. Hold on. All right, Jeff, I think that'll work for you. I hope.
Okay, because I'm going to do this. Okay. Wait a minute. Yeah, there it is. That's what I want.
Perfect.
Right. Come on, show up. Why didn't it show up? I don't know. Yeah.
We see everything.
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
So you know who that guy is, don't you? Obviously, it's Bobby Thompson.
Jeff, I think if you click on it, it'll blow it up.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
No.
So what am I going to do? I can add. I'm seeing it pretty big, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, we see it, but I think if you click on it, it'll blow it up to the whole screen.
Yeah, double click.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me try something here. Is that better? No?
No.
I clicked it. Oh, boy, that's going to mess. All right, well, I'm not gonna, if you saw it, I'll try this other things, but I'm sorry that didn't work, but can you see it, see him okay anyway?
Yeah, we see like a thumb print.
Okay, yeah,
Thumbnail.
all right, I'm sorry that didn't work, but that was kind of cool. Okay, now let's get on moving with this anyway. I'm gonna go back to
Who's his arm around?
I'm trying to figure out how to do this. It's supposed to be in paint, but it's not in paint, and that's why I'm having trouble with it.
Okay.
Okay, wait, I can do this.
No, you can have it.
Okay, well, let's just
Use
go for
this,
this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna, okay. All right, now, let me just get started on here. Late Bart Giamatti,
I'll get to the other room.
he said, baseball breaks your heart. It's designed to break your heart. And he was saying that because he was a fan of the Boston Red Sox, long-suffering fan. But any of us who lost a team know, or for that matter, a favorite free agent, they know that's true. In 1954, I'm going to still share the screen here. Can you see that?
We just see the thumbnail.
Okay,
See documents folder.
Okay, it's a document. Anyway, he said, in his review of the book of the Philadelphia A's Society, Max Silverman said, my father assured me in August of '54 that the Athletics would never leave us. Since then, I trust no one. That's my target audience. Okay. Then at the Brooklyn Historical Society, there's a quote that said the visitors are asked to recall their memories. One says, when the Dodgers left, I was 19. Since then, I've become a Catholic priest, and God forgive me, I didn't pray for Mr. O'Malley when he went to see our maker. That's my target audience. Now, I hope you can see this. Maybe pictures are better because it's gonna affect what I can do. This is a very famous picture. I can blow it up if you can't see it. Can you see it okay?
You see it, thumbnail.
We see the thumbnail.
You can only see the thumbnail. I don't know why you can only see a thumbnail. I don't know what's going on here. Wait a minute.
Take your cursor up to the top of your screen where it says view and click on that and see if it gives you a chance for a full screen.
I'm in paint right now, and maybe somebody can fix this. I don't know. Hold a minute. If you're only seeing the thumbnail, sugar. Okay.
You see the top of your screen where it says view in the left-hand corner?
I'm up on the upper left-hand corner.
Upper left-hand corner, up where it
Yeah.
says file, home, share, view. Put your arrow on the word view.
Okay.
And now click on that and see if it gives you options.
Extra large icons. That's not.
There it goes.
That's better.
Get bigger. Oops, you had it. That's
Okay.
better.
Oh, man, that isn't really what I wanted to. Okay. Anyway, I'll work on that. I had a lot of slides though, so that's because see, I'm seeing them fine. And
I think if you hit share, if you do the extra large icon and then hit share again, maybe that works.
yeah.
No?
Okay, share.
The view thing worked better with being able to have better, seeing them bigger.
Okay, share with. No,
Yes.
no, that's different. That's going to be. Hold on just a second. I'm going to
Go
back.
go with the view thing again, because that was working.
What if you right click on the file?
Okay, I'm going to go to another one here. Okay, anyway, the Flatbush Faithful years ago, they titled their things "Tears We Cannot Hide." That was my target audience. Then this is a picture I really wish you could see. Can you see it? You're just seeing a thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Is it large on your screen?
Yeah, it's large on my screen.
Maybe if you hit share again, I don't know if that works.
I think the view thing was the way to go.
Yeah, I think if you use view then share. I'm not sure though.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay, now I'm back to,
Try it now. Try it again.
okay, share screen. Any better?
Hold on.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the Brooklyn crowd.
No,
No,
Giants.
that's the Polo Grounds.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, you.
I gotta go back to share screen again.
Hold on, I gotta give you that. There you go.
All right, try this. This is one that I wanted you to see, and I'm really sorry it didn't work. But that's Emmett Kelly at the Polo Grounds. It says "Keep the Dodgers in Brooklyn," and that's my target audience. Okay, I'm going to talk just a little bit about. I won't need the screen for a little bit. In the 1940s and 1950s, a number of cities were courting Major League Baseball. They were upgrading minor league stadiums to accommodate Major League. You know, if you build it, they will come. This included Milwaukee, Baltimore, Kansas City, Minnesota, and others. Ironically, Los Angeles and San Francisco, they were not upgrading or building the stadiums, though they were interested in baseball. Minnesota had minor league millers, and they were looking to attract the Major League parent club. They wanted the Giants, and Stoneman might have preferred to have moved there. Milwaukee was upgrading its minor league park. The city had its eyes on the Major League Cardinals, but Cardinals owner Fred Saw, he was in deep financial and legal tax trouble, but he sold to Augie Bush, and then Bill Veeck, who owned the Browns, he was now looking at Milwaukee. He had once been general manager of the Brewers there, and he knew the potential. Okay, baseball wanted to expand. Before the war, there was talk of moving the Browns, whose attendance was dismal, to LA. The Pacific Coast League was threatening to become a major league, if that's the right word. The American League and National Leagues did not want that to happen. They only San Francisco and LA that they felt were worthy of Major League Baseball. They wanted to expand, but they thought the talent pool was too thin. And so either by accident or design, and there's evidence suggests it was by design, they moved one team out of two-team cities, the weaker team, and this way they expanded without depleting the talent pool. The Braves moved first, and it was all of a sudden it wasn't until late spring training that the Braves decided not to waive the rights to the Milwaukee territory and move there. The Braves had won the pennant in 1948, and they'd drawn almost 1.5 million fans, which I tracked the attendance of teams for over the last 5 years before they left. That was the highest attendance of any, higher than Brooklyn, of any in that. They didn't outdraw the Red Sox even then, but by 1952 they drew only 281,000 for the whole year. So obviously they were in a bad situation, and we're going to talk just briefly about these teams. We'll get to the Giants very quickly, although that slide thing is going to interrupt, is going to hurt me a little bit. In brief, they had spawned the Browns in the last season. They had during their championship season of '48, they had Spawn and Sane in 2 days of rain. In that last season, they had Spawn and Burdette in 2 days of wet. They had a young Anthony Matthews. They had Johnny Logan. They had Sam Jethro. Sam Jethro was a lovely guy, but he told me he never wanted to be the first black player in Boston. He just wanted to be a ball player. I thought that was a very poignant thing, but unfortunately, I'd already written my book before he told me that. In the early years, the Boston Brave owners were prime movers of the hated reserve clause, so they had a young Hank Aaron in their system. Now let's go to the Browns. The Browns had won a pennant in 1945. Their last year, with the talent depleted by the war,
1944.
in 1944. And since taking the Browns back with the assortment of promotions we've come to associate with him, he had doubled attendance. A lot of attendance. Can you see this? This is a Eddie Goodell bobblehead.
Yes.
And okay, his 53 club had Satchel Paige and Virgil Trucks. They had a no-hitter by Bobo Holloman. There were two memorable brawls between the Browns and the Yankees featuring Clint Courtney and Billy Martin. Hall of Famer George Sisler was the premier Brown. He played from 1915 until 1930. Beck had to move, but negotiations with Baltimore stalled because they didn't like him. So he sold the syndicate headed by Clarence Miles. Some owners objected to the team putting a team in Baltimore because it was close to Philadelphia and Washington, and Del Webb was of the Yankees was one of them. On September 22nd of that final year in St. Louis, 46-year-old Satchel Paige beat the Tigers 7-3. He allowed 4 hits in 7 innings. That was his last appearance until he made a symbolic appearance some later. And then the last team before the Giants, Connie Mack's Philadelphia A's, they won more American League pennants than any other club than the Yankees, but they didn't draw enough to sustain that success. The Premier Athletic, Connie Mack was forced to sell off all its talent constantly. Yeah, 54. The Premier Athletic was Jimmy Fox. It opened the season with Bobby Shantz on the mound. He was the American League MVP in 52, but in the 6th inning of that game, he had to leave with an arm injury. He won the game. The A's beat Boston 6-4, but it was his only victory of the season. He was through for the year, and when he trudged off the mound, he carried most of his hopes with him. There were many great athletic, too many to mention here. But the most compelling stories about that team, that 54 A's teams, involved the infighting among the Macs for control of the team. And it's interesting that Charlie Finley actually made an offer every bit as big as that of Arnold Johnson. Arnold Johnson owned Yankee Stadium. He owned the stadium in Kansas City. So, you know, it's not surprising that it became known as the Yankee Shuttle. Bill Veeck even made a late bid to keep the team in Philadelphia. Now, I can't show it to you on the slide, so I'm going to have to read it for you. One of the things that made me laugh is if the A's didn't need to have enough trouble, at the end of the season, the New York Times quoted Presbyterian minister Samuel Jeans, and he said, "Your Philadelphia baseball organization is looking for someone to buy them out of their difficult financial problems because of their declining attendance. It wasn't so many years ago that this organization played no small part in breaking down the sanctity of the Lord's Day by having this city of baseball legalize baseball on Sunday." So they got no sympathy from the pulpit. You know, I wonder sometimes if it wouldn't have made sense to move Philadelphia to Baltimore and move St. Louis to Kansas City, but they didn't ask me. And so, okay, I'm going to try one more time to share screen. And if I can do it, then great. If not,
All yours, Jeff.
okay, let me see. Okay. You still can't see it, can you?
No, but that hourglass is there, so maybe it'll click on.
I don't. Let me try one more thing. There's got to be a way to do this.
I think it has to do with a view thing.
I think once you make it big on your screen, you have to share the screen again. Because once you share the screen,
I got you. Okay, let me go back again.
Because every time you make it big on your screen, I think you have to reshare it with us.
I won't do that.
Yeah, maybe it opens another window.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna do this whole second. I'm really gonna try this because it's really funny because I, can you, is that it? Let me try share screen again. Okay, go back. I am, no, you can't see it. It says you're accessing share.
I'm going to take you off share screen and then put it back on. Let's see what happens.
Okay,
Now try it again.
okay. This is the technical thing I hadn't really thought about. Okay. Now I just did that again and then.
No good.
Okay, no good.
No.
It isn't coming up yet. I'm
I think it
zooming,
had to do
I'm
with the
zooming
the
in,
view
I'm
thing
zooming
made it
in. Is that any better?
No.
No.
The view
Okay.
thing was,
You do the
Yeah,
view. If you hit the view thing, at least the picture was semi-visible.
That's not, it's not good. Anyway, I'm sorry, because this does affect what I'm trying to do, but it just, it says, we're calling all you all you fans, all you Giant ball fans, come watch the home team going places around the bases, cheer for your favorites out at Coogan's Bluff. Come watch the Polo Grounders do their stuff. And the next one that I had was a picture of the 57 Giants, and I understand that that's this, but you can't see that either.
Oh, you just had it for a second.
I had it for a second,
Yeah.
but now it's small again.
Yep.
Okay, what did I do different?
I think the
Okay.
best thing to do would be sans the pictures at this point, Jeff.
If that isn't any better at all, I understand that the bat boy who's in the back row in this thing is actually on your,
He's in our group. Yeah, he's not here tonight though.
Mr. Logan, yeah.
Yes.
And okay, well, for you, because I had a lot of, that's okay, don't, all right. The average age of the players on the Giants in 1957 was 30, so they weren't the old men of summer, but they weren't very boys. They weren't the boys either. They had some younger players in military service, Jackie Brown, Willie Kirkland, and Bill White. Of the players I noted, sort of jumped out at me, and I have a picture which I was going to show you too, but not working that way, was Ruben Gomez. He got off to a really good start. He was he started the season 6-1, best shot in 5 years. He beat the Phillies in the in the home opener. Gale Harris hit a 3-run homer. Hank Sauer hit a 2-run shot. Mayor Wagner threw out the first pitch. In that game, Gomez was not allowed to bat by the umpire until he donned a batting helmet. In June, he was beamed by an errant fungo. Next game, he pitched a shutout. So a reporter suggested he should let someone hit him on the head before his next start. Gomez says, "Oh, no, that hurt." So in July, Gomez and Sam Jones of the Cardinals threw at each other, and Gomez threw at Frank Robinson of the Reds. There was talk that the Reds might move to New York. If the Giants left. Now here's where I'm going to, I don't know whether to try to screen share it or not. It really handicaps me because I really had a slideshow planned, but the cloud on the move hung over the entire season. Neither the Giants or the Dodgers owned the ballparks they played it any longer. They had leased them from the Credit Corporation, and those teams were only there for those leases were only for 5 years. So they would need ballparks. Now I have, it's really a mess. I can't, let me try this one more time. I'm gonna go back here and say share screen. And it's funny that you saw one, and then you can't see the other ones. Okay. Because I have, oh man, okay. I was gonna,
Is it large on your screen?
yes, it is large on my screen. That's why
What if you what if you hit share again? If you hit share right now,
okay, I'll hit share.
Is it also possible that you could use a different program?
It could be, I could. Okay, now I'm not even, all right, I can't, you can't see that, can you?
no.
Screen there, new share,
It hasn't changed.
no.
If you go to view and large arcs or large icons, that was the best view we had so far.
Okay, then let's go back to view and view large icons.
If you do that
How's
and
that?
tell us what to look at, we can follow
Is
along.
that better?
No.
No. Okay. Let me pull this up again on my screen for the whole thing. And
There it is.
There it is.
That's good.
There it
Perfect.
is.
Don't touch anything.
anybody know who those people are? Okay,
Moses,
okay. On the extreme left is Shulan Jack, Manhattan.
Manhattan Borough President.
Yes, and then in the middle is Mayor Wagner. And on the right
Moses.
is the Robert Moses, the Parks Commissioner, who was a fly in the ointment. He didn't want, he was, seeing the USA in the Chevrolet, and he was an obstacle to, certainly an obstacle to, until I researched my book, I knew very little about this guy, but he was very much an impediment to the,
Jeff, before you do anything else now, I'm going to ask John McLaughlin and Dale Lawrence, is there any way he could fast forward these without getting rid of this picture? Because I'm afraid the same stuff's going to happen.
Is he using, what is he using, paint? Or what are you
No,
using, Jeff?
I'm just, most of this came up in paint, that's all. They're not in a, I don't know how we got that, but whatever, it came up, it came up, this came up pretty good, this one, you can see this, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
saying there might
absolutely.
be arrows that you can press to go back to the other pictures and forward, but I think if
That's
you
how
make
it would be with Apple, but I don't know how it would work with Mac. I mean, with a PC, there
Oh.
should be arrows.
if
Yeah, I
you
don't
drag
think
if you drag the mouse to the middle of the picture on the right or left side of it, the arrows may appear.
Okay, what am I doing? Let's go back to the, let me go back to,
How about, Jeff, how about the keys on your keyboard? Maybe that would advance it.
I hit new share, and that seemed to work.
Yeah, I think the new share is the way to go.
Okay, well then let me try this next. Okay, I have I gotta, can't seem to get it here, but I have a New York, well, I have a 1957 program of the Giants, and I'm going to stop sharing in just a second. Well, no, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to go this for a second. Can you now? What did I do with this before? I said new share. No, we're not. Come on. This is really,
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect.
it's okay.
That works.
Yep.
Yes, you have Antonelli up on the screen.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the pages, and now Antonelli was a Boston Brave in that last season too. He was a bonus baby for them. He made the All-Star game, and Gomez didn't that last year, and so okay, now let's get this one, and okay, now start share screen. Let me go back over here again. This one, that's just an ad, but it's kind of interesting for Sinclair Power X there. And then Knickerbocker beer. And I can't get the, okay.
Try that new share again.
Okay, I am gonna do is say new share.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
Good.
okay, that works. This game was the Giants won. It was July 7th or whatever, and yeah, wait a minute. Right back.
How's he going?
Okay, no, I'm not going anywhere. It was July 13th game, and it was a loss to the Cardinals 5-1. You can see that Mays hit a home run in the 9th, and Ruben Gomez took the loss. But I do have that, and it's in mint condition, so it's pretty cool. I'm going to try this again now that I know the new share seems to work.
Nice.
Okay, you got it. So there we go.
Perfect.
Okay, I thought so that was something, and then okay, okay. Now I want to during that season, it was clear that they were going to need new stadiums. Okay, this was. Can you see that at all?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Perfect.
great.
That's good. This was a stadium that was designed by Buckminster Fuller, Forum O'Malley in Brooklyn. And as Carl Erskine said the other week, it was designed to go right there at the Long Island and Flatbush railroad terminal at Flatbush and Atlantic Avenues where the Nets play now. Would that have kept him in Brooklyn? I don't know. I doubt it, but to me, I agree with Neil Hine last week because I think O'Malley was the villain of the piece. But okay, now I gotta go. Okay. Okay, that's Nisha. Can you read that now?
Yes.
Manhattan and transfer.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So you can see some of the older pictures now. Okay, now I can't find my, hold a second. Okay, now I'm back to this. I'm going to share screen again. Okay, and get back to where. Okay, hold a second. I got to go back. Somehow I got out of this. Hold on. Okay, Hewlett Jack Stadium, which he designed for the I'm going to share screen, and then get to that one, and then new share. Can you? Okay, are we good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Hewlett Jack Stadium would have looked something like that. That actually was designed for the New York Jets somewhat later, but it was in the same location on West Side, and that was it. And I want you all. I thank you for being patient with me, but technology is not okay. But we know new share works, so.
Jeff, a little bit of a word about that, the Hewlett Jack Stadium. It was supposed to be in that location, but on stilts, and have 110,000 seats and have a TV studio and a helipad.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That was true. And it was way too expensive, but you know, nonetheless, it was an effort. And then, okay. I got to go back each time. All right. So where are we now? Okay, let's go back to the, I'm going to share screen again as soon as I get this. Okay, wait a minute. Can you read that at all, or is it not news share?
Nothing here.
Nothing here.
Okay, let's go back to this. I can't even get back to where I am.
Jeff, I think it might be good if you just spoke instead of pictures.
It's going to be awkward. Yeah, let me get back to. I'm going to get rid of that and come back one. Somehow I got this. Okay, sure. All right. Well, let me just talk for a little bit. Horace Stoneham said that. I got to get this again. Hold on a minute. I'm going to read this. We get rid of this. Get back to
Microsoft Solitaire sneaking.
Okay. Stoneham had this is Bill Beck. He accused Stoneham of an inattention with apologies to Jamie. Stoneham had the best franchise in the National League. He had potentially the best drawing Billy Mays. He was in New York, the center of communications industry. What did he do about it? He not only refused to go 2 steps out of his way to sell the team, he resisted the publicity that was thrust upon him. In the end, he picked up his franchise and moved to San Francisco, indignant because his attendance had fallen. When the Polo Grounds began to fall apart, Stoneham moved on to his new windblown castle by the sea. The feudal barons of the old used to throw their garbage on the floor and keep covering it over until the stench became so unbearable they had to move on to another castle. And Leo DeRocher, he was being considered for the managerial job, but he said he wouldn't come to manage again because he thought Stoneham was a drunk. Okay, let me try one. Now I can. Did you lose me?
No, you're so we can hear you.
I get
Jeff, the pictures
okay.
aren't. Jeff, the pictures aren't working. It's not worth it.
Somehow I'm really small in my yeah, okay, it's not worth it. Okay. It's too bad because I had a lot of good slides, but okay. Back to the Giants season. In late May and June, Mays had a 21-game winning streak. Had a 21-game hitting streak. On June 4th, the Giants beat the Braves 8-7 in 13 innings. Mays homered along with Shendings, but it was not a good night for Willie. He overthrew. He overthrew. He got picked off at first base, and he overthrew, allowing a run to score. So they booed him, and you know, well, in truth, they booed Snyder in Brooklyn for not running out a base hit about the same time. And so, all right. In mid-June, Shane Davis was traded to Milwaukee in a move that brought Bobby Thompson back to New York, along with Ray Crone and Danny O'Connell. It seemed to help because following the trade, the Giants won 12 of 13. They climbed back to 500 for the last time. The Giants lost the season series to the Dodgers 12-10, but they won the last games between the two clubs at the Polo Grounds and at Ebbets Field. The largest crowd was on the July 1st in the opener of a series against the Dodgers. They lost to Drysdale 3-0. but it was on that July 6th in a loss to the Pirates that that stay team stay banner was unfurled in the left field bleachers. So Antonelli was named to the All-Star. Gomez was not. In August, the Giants had a 5-game winning streak. Mays was hitting .630. On August 15th, the smallest crowd in recent history saw the Giants take their second straight series from the Dodgers. They won 9-4. A lot of people didn't see it, but it really hurt the Dodgers. See, the Dodgers were in a pennant race with the Braves. And on August 19th, the Giants officially announced before the Dodgers they were leaving. Bill Terry had made a serious offer to buy the club. In a footnote, Gale Harris batted an NL season high 7 RBIs on September 21st. Gomez posted his 15th and final win. He had 20 games. Elmer Vallow was also on the original Senators team. Elmer Vallow was on the last team of the Giants. He was also on the last team of the original Senators. Now, I had a slide of the last out. Who made the last out? Do you know?
Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes did. He grounded out to Dick Rhodes at short, and there was a picture of that in the state team slide, and so they were from 1903 to 1931. The Giants, of course, were the dominant team, and they were the Giants of Connie Mack and Carl Hubble and Christy Matheson and Rube Marquardt and so many others. So they had a great history. And as I told Gary, the movement of the Dodgers to the Dodgers and the Giants to the West Coast, it was terrible for New York, but it was probably good for the game to put 2 established teams on the West Coast. Among pictures that I had for you, I had a picture of Don Zimmer playing golf with Jackie Robinson. I had a picture of Frank Howard and me. I had a picture of the symphony band. I had a picture of the steps. I don't know whether you know this, but I had 4 pictures of the steps that are going down from Coogan's Bluff to what used to go down to the stadium. They still do, but the steps are still there, and they're labeled. And I thought that was kind of kind of cool. And then I had a picture of some others in my book, and I'm sorry that didn't work out. What I should have done is send them out to Gary, let him share the screen. Anyway, let me read this to you here, because I have to do that. Officially, the last fan to leave the Polo Grounds was a woman, Mrs. Blanche S. McGraw. She had attended games at least 3 times a week when her husband, perhaps the greatest single figure in Giant history, managed the team. Her right eye moistened a little as she was asked what she remembered with greatest joy at the Polo Grounds. While Mr. McGraw winning pennants, she smiled. And which pennants? All of them. Miss McGraw witnessed every Giant opening game except one since 1903, and home games at all 14 Giants World Series from her complimentary box seat in section 19, just to the left of the Giants dugout. So because are there any
Hey, Jeff, listen, don't worry about it. The technical stuff just didn't work out. I'm sure they have questions for you regarding.
I can take questions. Let me. I got to figure out how to do something here, because I am not seeing even myself here. Someone got technically out, and let me try this.
I think you're in grid view. If you go to the speaker view, you'll probably be able to see yourself.
Okay, let me go. What I'm going to do is leave the meeting and come back in. Okay, if I can. Okay, hold
Jeff.
on. Let me go because I'm not seeing myself. And so let me leave the meeting. I'm going to cancel out and I'm going to go here. I'm going to leave the meeting.
Steve, you want to talk, Steve?
Well, I wanted to ask is Rick Swig still on?
Yes, he is.
All right, Rick.
Yes, sir.
While he's looking, I got a question for you that nobody could answer. You've probably seen this picture, I don't know how many times. Do you know the cast of characters in this photo?
I can't. I see Mayor Christopher. I can't.
Which one is Mayor Christopher?
I
I think he's squatting.
I'm not sure.
All right,
Unfortunately,
somebody mentioned,
I think he's in the Giants hat, actually.
isn't that
yeah.
Harney, the real estate guy?
I really can't see it close enough. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. How would I make it closer, Gary? What we have to
No,
do?
it's about focus, and I'm on a telephone, so I have a small screen. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Mayor
Steve,
Christopher is the guy
Steve,
in the
take a
Giants
picture of
hat.
it.
Yeah.
Somebody else from the
Normie-
Bay Area,
Nor-
the guy with all the cars.
Normie has the right answer.
It's
Go
Mayor
ahead.
Christopher is the guy with the Giants hat.
Yeah.
That's a tall fellow, right?
Yes.
Okay, because these
That's
are all San Francisco guys. I don't think there's anybody from New York there.
No, I'm sure it's all San Francisco guys. I made this, Steve, I made a discovery last week because as Norm knows, I'm cleaning out a lot of stuff. And I came across a magazine that was produced specifically to promote the city of San Francisco to the Giants as an attractive place to bring the team. And I looked on the inside front cover and it had the committee, I'm paraphrasing, committee to bring baseball to San Francisco. And I found listed on the board of directors, my grandfather. I was in shock. I had no idea. Only found out last week.
Great.
Okay,
That's Ben, right? That's Ben?
Yeah. Yeah, Ben Swig.
Jeff, are you back?
yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm glad I filled some
There you are.
time.
I see you now. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, there isn't too much to say about, I have some slides, but there isn't really too much to say about the Dodgers. They were in a pennant race and with Milwaukee, and there was a big fight between Johnny Logan and Don Drysdale. You know, they didn't boost they didn't make any moves like they would have if they weren't anticipating a move. And at the end of the season, during the last game, for some reason the music they were playing California Here I Come, which I think was kind of cold, but I don't think the Dodger fans really thought they were going to move. I really don't. But that is, I have here, this is in my hands here. This is the Wall Street Journal. You can't see it. It's a technical mix-up, but this has to do about the shot heard around the world 50 years later, and they're claiming that the Giants were stealing signs and knew what Branca was going to throw. But it's a long article, and so that was kind of interesting to me. Since it didn't go like I planned, I'm sorry about the technical mix-up, but.
Don't worry about it.
We'll talk
Forget about it. Anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff, I do. I have a question. Were there any serious talks to Flushing Meadows? I know that was proposed for the Giants, where Shea Stadium ended up being, and also could the Dodgers have moved somewhere else in Brooklyn, or were they just dead set on that one area?
Well, that's what O'Malley wanted that. Now, whether he offered that to, I tried to find out about whether they offered that to Stoneham, and I don't think so. I think Stoneham was seriously thinking about. I mean, he would apparently during this whole thing he acted like nothing was happening. He went to Toots Shores and would celebrate and toast with people and have a good time. He didn't act any different, but. I don't think it would have made any difference. That Robert Moses was a complicated guy and very, very powerful guy. I don't really think that they would have stayed, but he did design the ballpark. So it could have, that, to me, the move of the Giants and the Dodgers, that was arguably the most important sports story of the whole last century, and I mean, it was just kind of a, stunned at the time. So anybody else?
Jeff, I know you're down in Maryland. Were you there when the Colts left?
Yes, I was there when the Colts left, and that was the closest thing to the Dodgers' relationship with the city of Brooklyn. The Colts' relationship to Baltimore, it was really analogous. It was really a bit, and of course, when the Colts left the city, they gave Art Modell. Art Modell. They gave him a real sweetheart deal, which they didn't do for Angelos and the Dodgers. They got all concessions and all parking revenue and everything else. They were desperate to have a team back. But that is interesting because I think those two are analogous. The Colts and the Dodgers were two very, very much beloved teams and very much a part of their community in a way that I really can't say that part about the Senators. With the Senators, they lost twice, and the last season, you had a whole lot of subplots. So just really briefly, you had the Curt Flood, situation, and you had the Denny McClain returning to baseball after winning 30. So there were a whole lot of subplots. I was at the last Senators game, and then when Frank hit the home run, it was a bizarrely emotional moment. I'm glad I went because it was that way. But if you were at the last Dodger game, somebody that actually was there, he told me before. You want to tell me what it was like?
7,000 people there.
Yeah. And I had a picture of them running off the field too, which I wanted to show you. And that I was sort of crippled by the technology there, but yeah, I did. It was DeFondi made the last out at the Polo Grounds. When I was doing this, we had microfilm, and which is not the internet.
Can't go back.
Yeah, but so it was a lot more laborious. But Steve Gittier of the Sporting News, I asked him if he could find out who made the last out. He said, well, I think it was DeFondi. He said, well, why don't you ask DeFondi? I said, because I don't know DeFondi. You know what I mean? I have no contact. So anyway, he did put me in touch with D, and he said he did make the last out. He grounded out to Zimmer at short because Reese was playing third that day. And he said he wanted me to know that there were none of the histrionics after the Dodgers game. I mean, that there were at the Polo Grounds. See, the Dodgers, the last game against both the Dodgers and the Giants was the Pirates because they were making a swing through New York, and so they played the last game against
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I tell you, it was really it was, yeah, that's right. And so but
Why don't we take more questions? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to help you out a little bit, Jeff. I went to my archives and got, I don't know how many of you can see. This is what he was talking about, but this is the final pitch at the Polo Grounds.
That's it. That was
Dusty Rhodes up there. And for all of you that have never seen the Polo Grounds area, whatnot, I'm sure he's got this in his book, and I'm not sure. Then and Now. That was the Polo Grounds. That's what it looks like now.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's unbelievable.
Amazing.
Not being a New Yorker, I had no idea how close Yankee Stadium and the Polo Grounds were.
3/4 of a mile.
Yeah.
This was the other picture that I was talking about.
Yeah, I had that picture and stuff.
Mace is in there, and you got, of course, got Clemente in there.
Oh, wow.
This one we showed early on. them leaving the field led by Bobby
That's the one I
Thompson.
had. That's the one that I had. So that and I had a couple of Evans Field that were in my book and stuff. And
Well,
Gary?
this one, it's hard to believe that they got that, and I said it before, that Eddie Grant plaque with all the cops around there, that big plaque in the middle was removed.
mhm.
Gary?
Hard to
I
believe.
think I recalled that.
Frank, Frank, there's 3 other people ahead of you, okay?
Okay.
Andy, you're up.
Yeah, hi. You mentioned you were at the last game, the Senators game, I think in 71.
71.
Was there a forfeit in that game?
Forfeit.
It was a
Because, it was kind of bizarre because the ticket takers left in the second inning. So while the official attendance was only about 4,000, it was really more like about 15, 16,000 because people just flooding through. There were no ticket takers. I mean, they quit in the second inning, but it was a forfeit because there was no security. And after 2 outs, Frank Howard hit the home run. Okay. He had a tear in his eye, wiped the tears, coming around third base. People were just going nuts. And Ted Williams had a good sense of occasion. He wasn't going to put Frank out back on the field, to possibly make an error. What better way to say goodbye than with the home run? So what happened was they put Tommy McGraw on first base, and the crowd was chanting for Howard. And then this sort of chubby kid ran out and picked up first base and ran off with it. And Dick Bosman, they threw pitching, but he was on the field actually trying to get people to go back in their seats. And then they announced that if people don't go back in their seats, this game is being forfeit. That was kind of it was kind of a moot point at that age. So at least you got a final out in New York. There was never any final out in Washington. And
Bill Plank, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was going to do a kind of a follow-up to Andy's on that. When you wrote on the 71 Senators, did you have a chance to speak with Ron Manchin, the final announcer for that game?
Unfortunately, I talked to Johnny Holiday. Ron Manchin's voice, he did. I've talked to Ron Manchin many times since. When I first started writing this book, I was an I was an outsider, and it was, yeah, but I did, that was one of the problems with this book, is that by the time I met a lot of these people, it was.
I wish I had known you then, Jeff. I could have gotten you any kind of interview you want with Ron. He was during his lifetime a close personal friend. And I will tell you, he was a true Marylander, and he did not want to go to Texas, and pretty much made that clear to Bob Short. And Bob Short pretty much said, "It doesn't matter, Ron, because you ain't going to Texas with us." There was a real falling out there. If you ever get a chance, they do have the recording of the final game.
I have it.
You have that with Ron and with Shelby Whitfield. And that is, you can hear the emotion in Ron's
I
voice.
don't think Shelby was there that final season. He might have been, but I don't think so. But the next year, the Senators come back to Baltimore, to play in Baltimore. They're the Rangers. And there was no security, and it was a cold night in May. And I couldn't find her name, but this woman, he was sitting with Gerald Hofberger, then the owner of the Orioles, Short was. And she came all the way down the aisle and poured a beer over Short's head. And she said that she wanted to know told him that the beer was cold, unlike, it was at the RFK. So I always thought that was kind of cool and an injustice. In true, I try to be fair. Bob Short wanted to move that team from day one. Yeah. He wanted to be part of an ownership group who was going to move the Giants with Jeffrey Lurie. He was going to be a partner, and the National League didn't want Short as an owner, and the Giants almost moved the second time. They moved. I didn't do any of the secondary moves because they weren't in the city for 50 years. That was the point. I didn't do the original Senators. For one thing, there was very little talk about the move in the 60 Senators before they left, and 61. And the second thing is I hadn't I had been to the last game, which was very emotional, and I had that to go on, and I knew more about the 71 Senators. So that's why a couple of publishers urged me just to stick with the 60 Senators because there was a period piece. But in my thing, baseball didn't go dark in Washington. You know, we had an expansion team. Okay.
Next one year, you had another team.
All right,
Yeah.
John McLaughlin, go ahead.
Hey, Jeff. I not comparable, but I was at the last game in Montreal. So I can sort of relay that experience if you need that. But also about the Senators, did you ever, or how serious were the rumors about the Padres going to DC? Because I know Topps published that famous baseball card of Willie McCovey wearing a Padres uniform, but it said Washington National League on it.
We came very close to getting, that was Joe Danzansky of Giant Food. The Giants were rumored to be where to Tampa Bay. They were rumored to be coming to Washington at one time, but we almost did. You mentioned Montreal. I wrote an ill-fated book, and I say ill-fated because I had 6 months of work, which the publisher, they proofed out a 6-month-old manuscript, and it was just very deflating to me. And they allowed me only to make, minimal charges. And then Katie Hines is the queen of the Big O. I called it Blue Mondays, the long goodbye of the Montreal Expos. You think losing that team was bad? That team was tortured. Major League Baseball took over, and I called that chapter "The Undertakers Arrived" because they were just, so I really feel sympathetic for Montreal. I tell people that we didn't steal your team; they were gone, anyway. But they don't want to agree with that. One thing, Katie Hines, she was like the equivalent to the famous lady who had the seat behind Dodger Stadium. She was the queen of the Big O, and she had given me pictures and some really emotional stuff. And then when she saw it in print, she didn't want it, so I had to pull it, from the book. But she was really devastated by the move, and which is my target audience. It was a much better book with that stuff, in it. I have one copy left, and that's in French. So, but so I did. So, yeah, okay. Next question, anybody?
Frank, go ahead.
Yes. Do you remember during the 52-53 offseason, Boston Braves pitcher Warren Spahn bought a diner next to Braves Field, and when the season opened, the Braves were gone. Did you
Yeah.
know about that?
Yeah, that I think I mentioned that in my book. If I didn't, I knew about it. But that, yeah, that was one of the Boston Braves Historical Society. They were really good to me. They inspired me to get started on this book. I went up to Boston, and Braves Field is at Nickerson's Field. I was given a tour. It's the football stadium, not a lot of it, but the gatehouse and a lot of the ticket house and what was the clubhouse, that still stands. And so it was kind of neat to see that. It was a cavernous, field. I don't know why that club. There was not a bad club, but they were very competitive when they went to Milwaukee, and of course, but they won 2 pennants, in Milwaukee.
Yes.
And one more thing, Jeff, am I correct that it was 3 years, the move teams, the Orioles and the Kansas City Athletics, it was a complete turnover within 3 years?
3 years for what? The
complete turnover of
Yeah.
players.
Every year somebody moved.
Okay, I'm trying to use okay. It was 3 years before they moved to Kansas
No,
City.
3 years after. 3 years after they moved, all the players that were on the moving team were gone.
Okay. I'm still not. My hearing is terrible. So, are you talking about players who were in the last season who?
The players who were in the last season of the St. Louis Browns and Philadelphia Athletics, I believe, am I correct on this? By the third moved year, they were all gone?
I don't think any of them are living anymore, no.
No, I'm talking about playing with the team 3 years afterwards.
The Philadelphia A's, the Kansas City A's really didn't, they made life sort of miserable for the if that's what you're talking about, for the remaining Philadelphia A's. And so they really were cleansing and stuff of those players. Bruce Jacobs and everything, they all told me this story. You know, meeting people like Lou Limmer is really funny. They were a terrible team. And Bruce Kuklick, he was a historian for the A's. And he told me he could hardly do an injustice to the 54 A's. But Lou Limmer, okay, he wasn't a great player, but he hit a home run off of Bob Feller. How many people can say that? You know, and Spook Jacobs.
100.
Yeah, and Spook Jacobs made the Cuban Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, and so it was really neat to talk to those people at the table. I'll take some more questions because I can be here for a lot.
And go ahead.
I want to take Gary, you and the organizations that do this. The Philadelphia A's were another organization which tried to keep a close relationship with the Oakland A's, and you have done that with the Giants. The other clubs, not so much. They didn't really do that. I mean, it's important. You give guys like Carl Erskine and people a place to come home to. Which is because otherwise they don't have that. So I think it's a really nice thing.
Thank you.
The Orioles give no credence to anything that is St. Louis Brown. Nothing.
And go ahead.
I wanted to segue into the Browns. Can you hear me? My dad seemed to have been working for a lot of these teams moved, and he was in the Browns organization for a lot of his career.
Pilots?
Well, the Pilots too. I mean, Kansas City went to Oakland, he followed him, but the Browns, and he went to Baltimore. But at any rate, he was in the Browns office when they were going to be moving. And people often ask, well, you know, where are all those St. Louis Browns uniforms? But his boss, the farm director, he was out of the minor league office in St. Louis. And Jim McLaughlin said, you know, get rid of all these uniforms because Baltimore isn't going to need them. So he told him to take all the uniforms and go out on the streets of St. Louis and give them away to all the kids. So that's what happened to a lot of those uniforms of the Browns.
Did anybody keep them?
Pardon me?
Did anybody keep them?
Well, they saw the kids, you know, when they went on the street, all the kids had them on.
I tell you what, the reason I don't have a Boston Braves cap that is current is because they're like a couple $100. The team wasn't worth much, but that damn hat is worth a lot. You know, it was Bill Veeck was an interesting guy. He won a pennant with Chicago. He won a pennant with Cleveland. He had Larry Doby. He couldn't change the Browns around, but he had some of the damnedest promotions. You know, when the Indians lost the pennant after winning it in '48, he hired a hearse. And he had a horse-drawn carriage. They took the pennant down, and the players walked behind him, and they buried the pennant flag in center field. You know, he was. If you haven't heard in Mike, he during the war he gave out orchids to the first so many fans, you know, through the stands. I think Bill Veeck was really good for the game. It's just it's too bad that. Hank Greenberg gave the eulogy, and you can find it on the web if you want. I suggest you look at it. Home base for the San Francisco Giants. Good, thank you. There's my pictures. Hank Greenberg gave the eulogy for Bill Veeck at his funeral, and it's really moving, and I'm sure you can find it. So it's something if any of you haven't seen that, The Life and Times of Hank Greenberg, it's a terrific movie. If you're a ball fan, it's really well done.
Steve, your hand is very dirty.
I know, it's getting dirtier quick with the ice. Hey, Jeff, there's only one living former employee of the Boston Braves.
Only
who
one?
lives in the Phoenix area. Do you know who that is?
No.
Roland Heeman.
Roland.
Oh, Heeman. Wow.
Yep.
And he was actually one of the finalists for the award that Mays just got, the Lifetime Achievement Award. And Roland accepted the plaque for Bill Veeck when he was inducted into the Cactus League Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
Norm Coleman, that picture. Is there a Gene McAteer? Is that ring a bell in San Francisco?
Gene McAteer does not, but I will look him up for you.
Well, here's what I'd like you to do. I'm trying to find this out. I thought that
Gene
Rick would know
McAteer
the
was a
answer. If you
state
could
senator.
find out who the characters are, we agree on Mayor Christopher. And they say that Charles Harney, who was the real estate guy that made all the money, is also somewhere in that photo.
I
So if
think
you
he's
can
the guy with the
play around with it.
glasses.
I'm sorry?
I think he's the guy with the glasses, but I'll check that for you.
You're talking about Harney?
In that picture, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
The
not
other
100%
thing,
sure on that.
Jeff, not sure if you know this. Actually, Harvey and Renee, do you guys know that Mays and Monty Irvin had a liquor store in Brooklyn
Yes.
Yes,
called
I did know that.
Wilmont? And didn't do too well, obviously, but neither one of them were drinkers or smokers. And they also did a Chesterfield commercial.
That's right. But they posed well in that picture.
That's true.
Why would they put that in Brooklyn?
Yeah,
Why?
I
Because
understood that.
the Brooklyn bums, all the people that went to Ebbets Field were drinkers, but they opened it up in the wrong neighborhood. I think they opened it up in a Jewish neighborhood. I'm not
Any
sure.
any other questions for Jeff? Jeff, I know you had a struggle tonight with, not having your technology working, and I'm sorry about that, but you did a good job explaining the book and the teams that left. So let's give it up to Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thanks for being, patient with me. I will tell you one last story. Before I wrote all this, George Adros was going to move the Seattle Pilots. And I wrote a very nasty letter to the Mariners organization. And what I got back was my own letter with red, I'm going to censor this now, in red ink written across it, "Suck my blank," seriously. And an autographed picture of Salome Barojas. So I was mad at first, and I thought it was really, really funny. And I thought, damn, if you're writing a piss me off letter, this is kind of a cool response. So I sent the original letter, plus the picture of Salome Barojas, to the Seattle Post-Intelligencer because I didn't think they would believe a copy. I mean, it came in a Seattle Mariners envelope. And then my friend Greg, he said, well, what are you ever going to do if Salome Barojas wants a copy of your book? And I said, well, I know what to write, and in his book if I do. And I want to tell you one last story because when I was at the Philadelphia AIDS Society, I said to Vic Power, I said, I'm probably the only person here who knows you stole home plate twice in one game. How'd you do that? And honest to God, he told me it was a night game. I'm black. And,
oh my God.
And that was just my humor. And then he sort of looked down. But yeah, they did that. Listen, thanks for putting up with the pictures. And I know what I'm going to do next time. I should have had a trial run, before. But
Water under the bridge. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed.
Jeff, you're up. Jeff,
Yeah.
we're not kicking you out of the group. Don't worry, all right, my man. Forget about it.
Okay.
Your book is very good, and your information was very good. Pictures would have helped. Didn't happen. Don't worry about it. No, nothing to worry about. Okay?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
If you
Jeff.
want a copy of my book, he's got my email address. All you have to do, any member of the society, it's just postage and handling. That's all. I have some enough, and that's all.
Yeah, you gotta pay.
So, okay.
Jeff,
Right.
Andy,
It's a very good book, and the age on the book means nothing because what's in the book is what's the most important
It's
thing.
history.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks again.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll be checking in with you every now and then. Okay.
All right, you be well. I'm gonna leave the room open. I think Steve wants to ask you guys something or tell you something. So,
But before Steve speaks, can I say something real quick about I want to thank Gary, Steve,